The family secret we never talk about. I always thought my family was normal, or at least that's what I told myself. We had our share of disagreements. Who doesn't? But deep down, I believed we were close. We spent holidays together, laughed over dinner, and supported each other through rough patches. But that summer, everything started to unravel. A simple decision changed everything. It all started with my mom's announcement that she wanted to sell the family house. The house had been in our family for generations. It was passed down from my great-grandparents, and as far back as I could remember, it was home. My siblings, Lauren and Sam, and I had grown up there. It was the house where we had our first birthdays, first pets, and every holiday was spent in the same rooms, the same backyard. Every room carried memories, some warm and joyful, others painful and difficult. But we had weathered it all together in that house. When Mom brought up selling it, I couldn't understand why. The house wasn't just a place to live, it was home. It felt like part of our family. It was where we'd spent so much of our childhood, and it had stood the test of time, just like we had. The idea of losing it was impossible to wrap my head around. Mom seemed distant when she brought it up. She said it was time to downsize, that she didn't need all that space anymore, but there was a finality in her voice that I hadn't heard before. It wasn't just about the house, it was about something deeper. The timing didn't feel right. It was only a few months after Dad had passed away, and we were still grappling with that loss. Lauren, Sam, and I had each been processing it in our own way. But this felt like another blow. My father had loved that house more than anything. It had been his refuge, his sanctuary. How could she even consider selling it so soon? Sam was the first to speak up. He always had a way of saying things others didn't want to. His voice cracked slightly as he said, "Are you serious, Mom? Why now? Why sell it? This house has been in our family for generations. It doesn't feel right." Lauren, who usually took the more diplomatic approach, also seemed uncomfortable. She crossed her arms and stared at Mom, her eyes narrowing. "Mom, are you sure about this? It's not just a house, it's our history. It's where we grew up. Are you sure you're not rushing into this?" But Mom was insistent. She'd made up her mind. "It's time. It's too big for me now. You all have your own lives, your own homes. I don't need to hang on to the past anymore." Lauren tried to reason with her, but Mom's resolve only seemed to grow stronger. "We'll be fine, okay? It's just a house." It felt like a gut punch. But I didn't know what else to say. The more we argued, the more stubborn she became. It felt like she was shutting us out, like she wasn't seeing the emotional weight of what she was asking. Selling the house meant letting go of so much more than bricks and mortar. It was letting go of Dad, of the memories we had there. That night, after the conversation ended, I sat in my room, staring out the window at the backyard. I could see the old oak tree Dad had planted when I was a kid. He'd always said it would grow strong, just like our family. The thought of never seeing that tree again, never running through that backyard, made something in my chest tighten. The next few days were tense. We all tried to avoid the subject, but it lingered over us like a dark cloud. Sam wasn't taking it well. He retreated to the basement, the space that had always been his. Since Dad had passed, Sam spent more time down there than anywhere else. It had been Dad's workshop, and after he died, Sam had inherited it as his sanctuary. The basement, with its old workbench, stacks of tools, and dusty shelves, had always been a place of comfort for him. It was where Dad had taught him to build things, where they'd shared quiet moments together, away from the chaos of life. One afternoon, Sam called me down to the basement. He sounded almost frantic. "You need to see this," he said. I walked downstairs, curious but also anxious. Sam was crouched next to an old wall, his hand running along its surface. There was a strange expression on his face, something between shock and confusion. "What's going on?" I asked. He stood up, his eyes wide. "There's something here, something hidden. At first I thought he was overreacting. The house had its quirks old houses do, but when Sam told me he'd found something strange in the wall, I couldn't ignore it. The spot Sam was pointing to seemed normal at first, but the more I looked at it, the more I noticed the irregularities. It didn't belong. The wood didn't match the rest of the basement, and the paint seemed fresher, almost like it had been recently touched up. "What is it?" I asked, heart racing with a mix of curiosity and unease. Sam grabbed a crowbar, and with a few quick, sharp movements, he pried the wood away from the wall. The creak of old timber echoed through the basement as the panel came loose, revealing a small, dark space beyond. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just an empty void, it was a room, a hidden room. Inside, there was nothing but dust and shadows. The walls were lined with shelves filled with old, yellowed newspapers, boxes of what looked like forgotten memorabilia, and stacks of photographs. But something about it felt off. It felt like it had been sealed away for a reason. I stepped into the room, feeling a chill wash over me. Sam followed, his eyes scanning the shelves, his hands trembling slightly as he pulled out a box. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath. I took the box from him, my hands shaking. It was filled with old photographs. Some I recognized, but others were completely unfamiliar. They were of our family, but they weren't the usual pictures we'd seen. These were from another time. They were worn and faded, but it was the faces that stood out. There was a man in every single one of them, a man I had never seen before. His face was always in the background, watching us. His eyes were sharp, focused, but he was never really there. Not in the way our family was. In the photos, he blended into the background, but it was as if he was intentionally out of place. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Sam's face went pale as he scanned the photographs. "I don't know. The man was in pictures from when we were little, in family gatherings, in Christmas photos, even in our backyard, but no one had ever mentioned him before. He was always lurking just beyond the frame of every moment, always there, yet never spoken of." The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Then I saw it. One photograph that made everything stop. It was a photo from our own backyard, from one summer evening. I could see myself, Sam, and Lauren playing in the garden, but the man wasn't in the background. He was standing right in front of us, watching us. That's when I felt it. Something wasn't right. This wasn't just an old family mystery, it was a secret. Sam and I didn't know what to do next. We couldn't just ignore what we'd found. We needed answers. We went upstairs and showed Mom the photographs. She went pale when she saw the man's face. Her hands trembled as she tried to hold it together, but the words that came next shattered everything. "That's your father's brother," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "He was never supposed to be in your lives. We kept him hidden." The room fell silent. We were stunned. My father had a brother, a sibling who had never been spoken of, whose name had never been mentioned, whose face we'd never seen. Mom's face was a mask of guilt and sorrow. "He was dangerous," she said softly. "Your father tried to protect you. He didn't want you to know him. He thought it would be safer that way." Sam's voice cracked. "What do you mean, dangerous?" Mom closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "He was a threat to the family. He was violent, unpredictable. We had to make him disappear. Your father didn't want you kids to be part of it." "Why didn't you tell us?" I asked, my voice trembling with the weight of it all. "Why hide him?" "It wasn't just hiding him," Mom said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was keeping you safe. He wasn't just part of our past. He was part of something much darker." It felt like the floor had fallen out from under us. We weren't just dealing with a family secret. We were dealing with something much deeper, much darker, and whatever it wasn't over. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It was like the man in the photos was still lurking, even now. And the more I thought about it, the more I began to realize something unsettling. I wasn't sure if the secret was really buried. The tension between my family only grew. The house, the family, everything felt like it was falling apart. And the more Sam dug into the past, the more we uncovered, the more I feared what we might find. We weren't just losing the house. We were losing a part of ourselves, a part of our history. And I couldn't help but wonder what else had been hidden, what other secrets were still buried, waiting to be unearthed. And the worst part? I had a feeling we hadn't seen the last of the man in the photos. He wasn't just part of our past. He was coming back. And we weren't prepared for what that might mean.